Dynamite download.
AEW 2020. John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a splashing good time. January recruitment.
I come along, I come along in the ring.
I would not want to. I would not.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 51 of Dynamite Download. You know what that means, Bonds? We are 1 week away from hitting a full year, man. 52 weeks.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable to think about when you put things in perspective that way. What a journey it's been. And honestly, the growth, the support, the love, the amazing people that we've met, and the incredible memories that we've had thanks to Dynamite Download and this commitment and love and really support for this product and company that we love. AEW, man, has grown and changed so much since it started. And tonight's episode was one of those shows that, Thunder Rosa tagged us in a post, and we were grateful for that. Thank you so much, Thunder, for that. An honor to be associated with Busted Open and I know everybody there. But she talked about, what are you most excited for in tonight's show? And Bonds, my immediate reaction after this episode of Dynamite was, man, this felt like a nearly perfect episode of Dynamite. And what was great about it was there was humor, there was great in-ring action, a lot of you and I talked about this throughout the show. Incredible promo work, and I think that's where we need to start tonight's episode is with the emphasis on the promos tonight. I think all eyes were on the main event in many people's eyes. Really, as Daniel Bryan put it, this test to see who is the best wrestler alive. And as he said, I'm game. Daniel Bryan is not, or Bryan Danielson is not backing down from this challenge. Thanks for throwing that up there so that I'm reminded. Bryan Danielson. It's going to be one of those things. I apologize that people
get used to it again.
I do.
It's been a while.
It's been a long time since we've seen the American Dragon, and I think that the AEW did a nice job of highlighting, even through Excalibur tonight, mentioning his roots in the SoCal wrestling scene, and talking about a match that he had right in my backyard in Detroit. Bryan Danielson's roots in professional wrestling go deep, and I think there's a lot of pride on the line here. What are your thoughts on this segment between Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega? And honestly, with Don Callis involved, I know that had you laughing. Tell me a little bit. What did you think about this one?
Well, you said it yourself. They really did a good job of making it feel like this is a story that's been being told for a long time. This isn't going to be the first match these guys have had together. You know what I mean? This has been a long time coming, and I'm glad that it's the first match that Danielson's going to have in AEW against Kenny Omega. It's going to put him on that. I mean, everybody that's a wrestling fan knows that Bryan Danielson can go better than anybody in the world. He was 9 times in a row best technical wrestler or something.
Yep.
So I mean, he can go with anybody, and Kenny Omega is the guy that's been carrying that belt for so long, and I think that. Even if he doesn't go after that belt right away, which is something he alluded to, just going out there to prove that he's the best, to me is almost more entertaining. I want to see him go out there, and he kind of put Kenny in his place a little bit tonight too, which is cool. He said like, "Hey man, I expected Kenny Omega, and all I'm seeing is a chump that's having his goofy friends do all the stuff, and Don Callis talking for him, and it was we might be starting to see a way that Kenny can come back from his heel run as well and kind of change up his persona again. If this is that spark there, maybe
like
a loss to Danielson, it sparks that as well. So we've always been trying to talk about what's going on with the Elite and what's next for them. But with Adam Cole coming in, it's hard to see that happening. I don't know. It's interesting.
Is it? I think that makes it even more a possibility. I think that Adam Cole is a guy who could potentially be a leader of that crew if Kenny were to move on to a different chapter in his career. And when I hear you say that, my immediate reaction is, man, you and I both have talked a lot about Star Wars as well over the course.
Yeah.
And Britt Baker, if you're listening out there, plug your ears. I know you hate Star Wars, but Bonds and I have had a lot of laughs and a lot of conversations about Star Wars. And with Bryan Danielson coming into this scene, it's almost like you got that Jedi representing the good and challenging Kenny, who, is Kenny on the dark side? Will he learn his lesson? And can the good be saved in him? And I think that through amazing wrestling matches with Bryan Danielson, that might be something, right? What if Kenny just needs that challenge? He needs that yin. What if he needs that yin to his yang? Somebody who is the artist in the ring that he is, somebody who, that on that level, that mutual respect of what it means to be a great professional technical wrestler. Yeah. Maybe that leads to something, and I know that it's hard sometimes to grab somebody who's a debut and throw them immediately into a world title shot. But if there's anyone in professional wrestling who can do that and do it in a way that connects with fans, it's Bryan Danielson. This guy is just such a natural feel good. He represents himself so well. Even in moments where he, his back's against the wall, he's just a man of principle. And I think that he's an easy guy to root for. And having that personality going against the Elite, especially right now during the height of their antics. Yeah. I think that this is they're onto something here. But hey, any combination, really, the story aside, you're going to get to see two guys who are the best in the world go at it. And there's another guy who has been staking claim to that for many, many years.
The best in the world, actually, you mean?
According to Bonds and many of you out there, CM Punk. And what a brilliant way that AEW kind of mixed things up a little bit tonight. We've seen Punk come out to the ring, cut a lot of those consistent promos and milk the crowd. And that's worked really well. But I know, Bonds, that cynic in you is waiting for that shoe to drop and be like, all right, people are going to turn on this eventually if they don't mix it up. And tonight was a beautiful way in which AEW did that. They allowed us to have that pop, have Punk cut promo basically for most of the night. Yeah. Punk on commentary tonight. I don't know about you. It's easy to wax poetic about what he did with the Straight Edge Society and the New Nexus and all his great in-ring and the pipe bombs and all those great things that he did. But Punk had a section of his career where he was just awesome on commentary. And I think that people forget how good he can be in that role. And tonight was a beautiful reminder of that. Punk really brings a seriousness, kind of a calm, cool vibe to the commentators' booth.
Different vibe for sure.
Yeah, he's just kind of got that cool vibe to him, and he's not afraid.
Sarcastic.
Yeah, funny. He's not afraid to speak his mind and to give props to talent, whether they're a good guy or bad guy. Tonight
he's right down the middle. It's great.
How nice. For me as an FTR fan, I got to hear Punk, really highlight what a team they are, and for a baby face to build up a heel like that, it shows that Punk can be Punk. He doesn't need to be a baby face or heel. He can just be himself. And that's why it felt so great seeing him on commentary tonight. It was obvious that he was a natural. It was obvious that the love of wrestling was there again. Yeah. And Bonds, this all ended. His night at the commentator's booth ended prematurely. Yeah. For the team that you have been, I tend to be the guy who's the factory fanboy here at Dynamite Download. Yeah. You are a Tazmaniac.
Always has been, man. I love
Taz. Represent You had to be geeking out watching this play out tonight.
Man, I just want to see Powerhouse Hobbs and CM Punk in the ring. That's all I want after the show. After they came out there and attacked him, and they tricked Punk into coming out of the booth with Hook and Taz, and Taz like, "You trying to take my job now, Punk? What are you doing over there?" And it's just great, like Taz is just being Taz, and then eggs on Punk, and then Hobbs comes out and just brutalizes him, and it was like, oh man, like this is what we wanted to see from Team Taz. This is what we wanted to see from Punk. Like this is something that's like going to be a real feud. It's going to elevate a young guy like Hobbs, who we all are big fans of. He's been great. He's been developing. He's a great talent. And having that rub of CM Punk in a match just is going to be epic. It's going to be huge for his career. It's going to be, as fans of Hobbs, both of us, it's going to be great for him. Just his evolution as a character, his evolution as a performer. And plus, people that aren't aware are going to see what kind of guy he is as a performer as well. Because Hobbs, again, in the last 6 months, has really taken it to another level. And I'm stoked to see that match. I'm stoked to see Team Taz versus Punk. Because, again, like CM Punk, his promos are just on top notch. And Taz as well. You get, Taz on there on the mic. It's just unstoppable. But on the mic, we got some more cool stuff from MJF. Maybe a little mean, maybe a little out there. I don't know. I thought it was pretty funny personally, but again, I'm not Brian Pillman Jr. So.
MJ. Yeah, seriously, if it was your dad that he was talking about, maybe you would be a little bit more, and that's the thing, man. I think that this is such a perfect segue that you just said, because, we got to start this show talking about some of the all-time greats going at it with Bryan Danielson and Kenny Omega. And then you get CM Punk and what we just said, Hobbs really emerging as a future star, getting the stamp of approval from everybody. Man, this feud between MJF and Pillman, when you talk about a feud of two young talents, this feels like a feud that can last for a very, very long time. One of those ones that I think AEW can go back to, maybe – it's one of those, as their careers both progress, I see these two guys crossing paths multiple times down there. I mean, it just works, right? I mean, MJF is shown that he's willing to go to new lows. And the guy is absolutely hilarious on the mic, and fearless, willing to take shots that most people can't and won't do. You got to give the man credit for that, and he delivers it with such confidence that you just can't help but sit back and laugh and appreciate the guy is phenomenal at what he does. And we've talked about this countless times with MJF. What a blessing it must be to be a babyface that goes against this guy.
Yeah,
because it makes
it's so easy.
It makes your job so easy. And Pillman, he's not necessarily. I mean, let's be honest. Young kid, great story. We all want to see good things happen for this young man with the true adversity that he had to overcome in his life. And when you pair that up with a fiery attitude, a positive attitude, we love positivity here at AEW.
Yes, sir.
Dynamite Download. And then you combine that with the fact that you could tell. I mean, we've talked about this time and again. Pillman is putting in the work. The guy is rounding into form. MJF versus Pillman really feels like such a great matchup of a true heel and a true babyface. AEW's hitting all cylinders with this one.
Yeah. Man. Oh yeah. I think that part of why it's working so well is because they're just letting MJF say whatever he wants. Let him yell at Brian Pillman in hell.
How awful. My gosh.
I can't believe he went there. He starts talking to him in heaven, then he just goes, forget that. We know where you're at, Brian. Oh. And then he looks down and yells at him in hell. Terrible. Pretty absolutely ruthless. Terrible, but it was
typical.
Again, it
what
makes
a dirtbag.
He is a giant dirtbag, but he makes it work so well because he's so unapologetic about it. He just says whatever he wants. Nobody cares. The crowd just boos him like crazy, and then he laughs at them for booing him. He doesn't care, and that's why he's probably the most despised heel in the business right now, and I don't think it's really close.
And brother, to piggyback off that, MJF in front of a live crowd, that is pure gold. I mean, this man knows how to rile people up, get a reaction like nobody else in the business that I've seen in a long, long time. He's just so easy to despise and hate. And in an era where so many of us want to cheer on the bad guys, MJF is so good at being bad, man. This
number
guy
one pick,
is
man.
Absolutely unbelievable. Things aren't looking as great for all members in the Pinnacle as they are for MJF. Sean Spears, poor guy, can't
catch a break. He can't
catch a break when he gets out there and gets this opportunity against Darby Allin. I felt like, and I do think that this match it worked in the sense that it really showcased what Spears is capable of. I think
his offense was impressive.
Exactly, this guy's got power and kind of underappreciated power. He's one of those guys who kind of reminds you of a Cesaro, where not the biggest, bulkiest guy, but just strong, real strength. And that was on full display against, as SPD likes to say, the crash test dummy of AEW, my guy, Darby Allin. And as is typical, the opponent, Sean Spears, came up short tonight against Darby. But as is the case, his opponents always look better in their matchups. I thought that this was a great showcase for Spears to kind of remind the world that,
what he can do,
what he's capable of. And then for me, I'm really digging what happened post-match.
That was the best part of the match, in my opinion.
The FTR, oh my gosh, the FTR segment, that beatdown that they put on the Stinger, the Icon. I mean, you don't hear asshole chants that loud that often in wrestling anymore, folks.
No.
This is not ECW arena anymore. AEW is usually a very positive place. And those guys, FTR, they were getting legit asshole chants tonight. The crowd, I mean, and again, this is continuing the theme. If you're in the Pinnacle, I mean, I get it what MJF says. You're always on top. I mean, these guys do know how to get a reaction out of a crowd. That's for damn sure. And
it didn't take much with doing what they did to Sting.
By hook or by crook, they always find a way to, get that they always get that one up. They always got to be on top. Even though Spears lost this match against Darby from a coffin drop, which was executed to perfect. I mean, that Darby, we talked about Spears' offense. Darby's offense, when he hits those moves, the dive through the ropes to Spears, who is sitting up on the steel steps, beautifully executed, basically flawless. Dives are so commonplace now that people kind of take them for granted, but Darby's are just, I mean, this dude launches himself with.
He's almost like selling like he's taking a move when he's doing a dive.
Yeah, it's so almost
weird.
Like there's a moment where you almost expect to see like the camera to pull away, and you just see Lance Archer was the one who like launched his ass through the ropes. You always expect to see somebody just throwing him with the way that he just fully commits himself to his offense. I love what Darby does in the ring. But FTR, my favorite tag team, the greatest tag team of all time. If you don't believe me, just ask them. Or ask Punk, who again we talked about him on the commentary. Punk and JR were and Excalibur. They all, I mean, the commentator booth was putting over FTR in a big way tonight, and
they were strong the whole night, man. This is like the best night they've had in months.
Totally agree. I mean, FTR. I know that we want to talk about the tag teams later on tonight, so we'll save a little bit about that. But really, when you talk Darby Allin versus Sean Spears, folks, you're going to need to go out there and seek out that clip. Find that clip. because Dax and Cash post-match absolutely laid out the Stinger.
Right.
It was like I was watching Scott Hall and Kevin Nash, the NWO, going after the Stinger again. I mean, this was a pure beatdown of epic proportions. Somewhere out there, Lori is crying because I know Lori loves herself some Stinger.
What do you think's the payoff for this, Crayfish? Like, is it going to be Tully and Sting? Like, do you think that that's a match that you want to see, or is it going to be something where they're involved and it's going to be FTR and Spears doing stuff with Darby as well? Like, because it seems like they're kind of selling this, Tully wants to kind of go after Sting again. But, I don't know if that's a match they're going to have that as a singles match. I don't think that's probably the case.
I don't think that's going to be the case. And the reason why is because I think we've seen it.
Yeah.
The Stinger he can still go in a tag in the right circumstances, right?
He needs some help, which is fine.
Him being paired with Darby actually works really, really well. You let Sting come in, get that hot tag. After Darby usually takes a beating, right? And so Sting comes in, gets the flurry of offense that we love to see. And I think that Tully has shown the guy can do some stuff as long as, you allow it to be at the right place, the right time, which is cool. I mean, I personally think it's going to be more of like Tully is going to try to make Sting's life miserable. And you're going to see FTR and Spears really all of them gang up on Darby, which, to me makes a lot of sense. Darby needs another feud going forward after his loss against Punk, which I don't like to talk about. I was like the only guy in the arena cheering for Darby. It felt like at times.
As in the crowd, it was 90 Punk, 10 Darby.
All right. Well, to be fair, the Darby section, they held their own in the crowd chants.
We held our own. It was Chicago. There's nothing you can do about it. It was Chicago.
But I feel like Darby needs somewhere to go. And I think that very clearly the tag team scene, the tag title belts, although we all agree FTR absolutely could be and should be the World Tag Team Champions forever.
In that conversation.
They're great, right? Everybody recognizes they're great, but the Lucha Brothers deserve a nice run. These guys are absolutely hitting on all cylinders. It's great to see them healthy, and it's great to see them showcased and getting an opportunity that we know they deserve. So it doesn't feel like FTR is going to be on their, in their path anytime soon.
Right.
Why not give them sort of a blood feud? Let them beat. I mean, we saw what they did tonight. We saw the heat that they were able to get. Why not let Spears and FTR feud with Darby, and let Darby do what he does best, be the underdog and fight from beneath? I think that would make a lot of sense. Talking about feuds that make a lot of sense to me. I know that there's a lot of people out there who are thinking Malachi Black needs to put an end to Cody and beat him again. And I'm seeing that trending a lot on social media. And, as is the case normally, as SPD always preaches to me, Crayfish, if you disagree, try not to say anything. Try to avoid those landmines, because I just want to tell people, like, I don't think that it makes a lot of sense for Malachi Black to beat Cody in their next match. If that happens, what happens after that? And I think that AEW is a company that is always thinking about what happens after what we're going to do tonight.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this show so great, and this company so great, is that the stories build on themselves and the characters interact with each other, and it feels like it's genuinely a living, breathing organism, right? And our intelligence isn't insulted. And so for me, I don't want my intelligence insulted and to assume that Cody is going to get nuked by Malachi again.
Right.
And then just be okay with that and walk away and move on to another battle. Cody is the type of man who calls himself the Prince of Pro Wrestling. He is the foundation of this company. And if you think that he's going to just be okay with if Malachi beats him again and then move on, I question that logic. And quite honestly, I want to counter it and say, if this doesn't happen, where do you go with Cody and where do you go with Malachi? These are two guys that both need a story. They both need something to give them a purpose.
Yeah.
And I don't know why you and I don't know about you, but they're both so good at the visuals of professional wrestling, of the showmanship,
their roles.
Like Cody with the red suit and the bleach blonde hair, and Malachi with his tatted up look and the dark hair. And I mean, these guys lean into the aesthetics of sports entertainment and professional wrestling. They recognize that it's about more than just the moves. And Malachi talked about that at FanFest, how, he can win matches and have the fans eating out of the palm of his hand with just a few kicks. It doesn't take much. And I think both of these guys are veterans that would really benefit from going back to an old Dynamite Download staple, iron sharpens iron. I think this is a feud that could really bring out the best in both of these guys. Am I off base here, Bonds? Do you think that Malachi should win in this matchup, or do you see and think that the Nightmare should prevail?
Man, I don't know if I want Malachi to lose this match, but I want this feud to go on for a little bit. I like where they're going with it. Tonight was a good step for it. I thought that they did a good job of making it, like, especially with Black, basically attacking Rosario Dawson. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's okay. Like, you're basically going after a celebrity here and like talking to a celebrity that's, supporting Cody. And that's taking it a different step. Like, okay, you're not just like attacking his stable anymore. Like, you're attacking his persona. You're attacking his person. You're attacking his people that support him, which makes it interesting. It makes it more deep, more fun for me as a fan. I want to see where they're going with it. I don't want it to end because I want to see what the long-term plan is. More so than anything, I think that this is set up for a potentially really good storyline that we could have like for months. This could be Malachi's first really big long-term thing that we thought was just going to be quick. We thought it was like, okay, he's going to take out these guys and Cody's going to be off TV because this show, whatever, that'll be it. But now it seems like they're going with something a little bit more long-term potentially. Especially tonight. I thought that this was going to be a quick thing. He was going to just kind of go and Cody's going to be out. But man, like Cody coming back, big pop, fighting into the crowd. It was just a big, fun moment for these guys. I think that it was a star-making moment for Malachi because the crowd loves him anyway. They don't care that he's doing terrible things. They love him and they want him to be successful. And I think Cody's the same way in a different light, where the people that want him to be that baby face, that hero, that conquering hero, are going to maybe get what they want. And if not, I think it's going to be a great match either way. I don't think the next one they have is going to be a squash. It's going to be one of Cody's patented long,
epic
Cody battles.
And he deserves it in this match.
Yeah. Oh, he does. I think that Malachi has gone after him in a way that I don't think anybody else has really tried. I think QT tried a little bit and it just didn't work out. But Malachi is going at a deeper level, it seems like, and I think it's interesting to me personally.
Well, and to piggyback off of that, right? I think that if I were booking this, I mean, we've talked a lot about the House of Black, and when I listen to Malachi and the way he presents himself, this is a man that should be a leader. And so I see the leader of kind of the darkness. And I think that Cody's the same way. I think it's no matter what your opinion is of Cody, you have to admit that this man is a leader.
Yeah.
The leader of the Nightmare family, the leader of AEW. There is something to be said for that. So I think that you have two leaders. And if I were booking things, I would lean into that. Obviously Dustin was left bloody and beaten by Malachi. If the rumors are true that are out there, I would absolutely love to see Malachi bring in a Bray Wyatt and potentially bring in a Brody King that Malachi talked to us about, really building that. And if you had Malachi, Bray, and Brody King against Cody, Dustin, and Shotty Lee, I think that there's something there.
It'd be a lot of fun.
I think that there's something there between Cody and Dustin and Malachi and Bray. I think that there's a lot of things that you could go off of that. And you know that, especially with the Rhodes brothers and Malachi and Bray, you know that those are performers that really understand almost how to bring a Shakespearean emotional drama and to really pull you in and captivate you in a different way. It's a different kind of feud. I feel like. And I think that, that's why I really think that tonight made me think about this feud in a very different way. And I think that if AEW leans into it, I think there's a lot of potential long-term. I really do. But speaking of potential long-term feuds, I mean, let's get into it, man. I mean, Adam Cole going against the Elite Hunter, Frankie Kazarian. You're going to see here this little the super click between Adam Cole, the Bucks, versus Christian and Jurassic Express. That's a feud right there that absolutely works. And I really thought that, again, getting a vibe from the AEW audience before the show, Thunder in the thread that she had, and again, going back and looking through those comments, honored to be tagged in that post. But
thank you, Thunder.
Amazing. But going through those responses and trying to interact with fellow fans, you see pretty much the consensus was tonight in ring. Adam Cole versus Frankie Kazarian was the lead dog in what could be the show-stealing match of the night. And I think that these two guys absolutely delivered. It's not Bonds, think about the matches that we've seen Kaz deliver, over the course of our fandom of him, watching what he did all throughout those years of the six-sided ring, really a game changer. And if you're an Adam Cole fan, you know that him getting an opportunity against a guy like Kaz is going to put Cole in the best possible way. You can't, this is why the Adam Cole, I know that the DMD and his and the Elite and all those guys who are his friends and all that, they're all here, and that makes a lot of sense for him to be here. But when you look at the persona of Adam Cole, the in-ring style, the swagger that he brings, the mic work that this guy drops, story time with Adam Cole, folks. He just fits the AEW mold so much better than he fits the WWE. And that's, again, I want WWE to be successful. I love pro wrestling. There's a lot of great stuff that's happening over there, mostly on SmackDown. But AEW,
Raw was pretty good this week.
Big E, congratulations. Yeah, that's true, Raw. That is true. And that's good to see. Maybe this is an example of what we've talked about. Again, iron sharpens iron.
Yep.
AEW being that competition, as Cody has mentioned, for WWE, where they both push each other to get better. And this is a great example of two in-ring competitors who have traveled the world, who both, when they look back on their careers, both need to sit back and crack open a beer and really basically give themselves a little pat on the back, because these two guys, these are some of those guys when you're booking a show, you need to be able to count on at least one match to deliver for those nerds like me who love to watch great pro wrestling.
Yeah.
And this is that kind of match, right? This is and these guys absolutely opened up the show. I had to pinch myself. CM Punk was on commentary. Adam Cole and Frankie Kazarian are going toe-to-toe in the ring. It was like
a year ago. Would you think this is like an impossible scenario a year ago or 6 months ago? It's crazy.
I mean, literally, I at a loss for words. It's that. Yeah. It's that kind of.
And the fact that this opened the show. This was such a brilliant opener. You get that crowd that post SmackDown, or you get those people that liked NXT that loved Adam Cole. They're like, man, you get this guy on here who people love him. People think he's the next Shawn Michaels. And you have him open that show against a veteran that everybody knows who Kaz is. He's been in Impact. He's been in WWE before. But people know Kaz, and he's a great wrestler. And he's
universally respected.
Yeah.
Universally respected.
And so you have these guys put on a great show, a great start to the show. They set the tone. I love when they have these great openers that set the tone, because then the whole rest of the show, this show is great, by the way. Basically from top to bottom, great show. From the promos to the matches, and this really set that bar early, and it stayed at that level, I would say, throughout most of the show. I mean, we obviously had a couple, poorly timed commercials and stuff, but I don't think there's any real down spot on the show tonight. And it started with these guys. I mean, Adam Cole goes out there, totally with the crowd on his side. They loved it. They ate it
out
up.
of the palm of his hand, man.
Oh yeah, they were chanting his name anytime he did
so
anything.
Fun.
Yeah,
Adam Cole, baby. It's
exactly.
So much fun, dude.
And you're right about him feeling like a better fit on AEW's roster. I mean, with the guys that he's with, right? He's with the Elite or the Super Click now, which is awesome that they're back, part of Bullet Club. Like, this is an established thing. Like, these guys are back, and this is cool. I mean, this is opening up some forbidden doors potentially. Who knows? We've got a lot of stuff here that's a whole bunch of awesome stuff in pro wrestling right now, and this is one of them.
Absolutely.
But man, like, Adam Cole feels like a superstar. Absolutely feels like a superstar. He doesn't feel like another guy that's just kind of lost in the shuffle, who you just don't really have any confidence is going to end up being a main eventer because he's not one of the 3 or 4 handpicked guys. Like, this guy feels kind of like Malachi Black to me. This guy just has that aura about him where it's like, man, like, this dude he's already there. He just needs, whenever they decide to push him, it's going to work because the crowd's already on. Like, the crowd's already with it. The crowd already wants that, and he's proven himself. I mean, he doesn't have to prove himself. He's been proving himself for however many years he's been in the business, probably 15 years now. You don't really need to prove yourself, but he proved that it works tonight. I think he proved that the crowd loves it, the crowd wants it, and he can go against a guy like Kaz. And if you can go against a guy like Kaz, I mean, you can go against most of this roster and have a great match. Because, I mean, most of the people on this roster is technical. Yeah.
And Kaz has a motor on him. And much like Malachi Black, Adam Cole's entrance is on point.
Perfect.
That theme song hits, man.
Yeah.
One of the top theme songs in AEW. Just all about that boom, baby. And it absolutely gets you off your feet. You know,
it's unique.
It kind of hits like the Stone Cold Glass Shatter, where you just want to jump out of your seat and cheer. Adam Cole definitely has a bright future ahead of him, and ahead of him seems to be a feud between him and with him and the Bucks going against Christian and Jurassic Express. Talking about guys with bright futures, I mean, you got Jack Perry, Jungle Boy over there, who, as CM Punk said, if you got a problem with Jungle Boy, the problem is with you, not him.
Right.
I mean, this kid has had great matchups against some of the top talents in AEW, has consistently showed out. And to be in a scenario where, again, I think this is very important. Jack Perry himself has acknowledged promos. He feels uncomfortable cutting promos, and he may never be that guy like Adam Cole, who goes out there and could cut an incredible promo in his sleep, right? But what's beautiful about this is you're pairing him up with a veteran like Christian, who feels more than comfortable in cutting promos. He's cut promos on the grandest stages of them all
since before Jungle Boy was born.
I mean, quite literally, Christian has been an absolute stud everywhere he's gone, and knows how to, again, play babyface, heel. This dude can do it all, and no pressure is too big for him. And so you're going to be able to see an incredible match like Adam Cole versus Jungle Boy, which would be amazing.
Salivating.
But without putting the pressure on JB to go toe-to-toe with Adam Cole on the mic, because that's not going to happen and not going to work out well for Jungle Boy right now. It's just not. And so having this play out like this, I think makes a lot of sense.
Oh, I agree. Having Christian be the mouthpiece for Jurassic Express is brilliant because really they didn't have one, and I think they needed one. Where Jungle Boy, I mean, he's improving. I think he's gotten a lot better on the microphone personally, but I like when I kind of prefer it when he has those like one or two lines, and Christian's going in there kind of doing the heavy hitting stuff.
Right.
And I just can't wait for, an Adam Cole versus Christian promo battle. Like, that's going to be great. The match itself with Adam Cole and Jack Perry, Jungle Boy, is going to be just awesome. Like, that's going to be one of those matches where
gonna have to watch it. Have to.
That's going to be one of the early matches. Well, it's September, but it's going to be a match of the year candidate. It's one of those ones where I'm like highlighting it. Like, this one's one that I think can be just absolutely awesome, because one of those things you talked about with Adam Cole is like, okay, he's a little smaller of a guy, but against a guy like Jungle Boy, that doesn't matter.
No,
it doesn't matter at all. He's going to have they're just going to have a barn burner because they're kind of similar builds. I mean, Jungle Boy might be a little bit bigger, but marginally at best. Right. Yeah. And I think that's going to be just awesome when they have that singles. That's what I want, really. I want that singles match.
Well,
they're going to have that.
Want that. You might
the
want
trios
that,
match is coming up.
But your buddy, the leader of America's top team, this is the match that he would take a dump all over. Basically, his entire promo, he was crapping on what AEW really means. And I think that Adam Cole and Jungle Boy fit the mold when it comes to the style, and then the Young Bucks too fit the mold for the type of wrestler that he was talking shit about tonight. This was man, I gotta say, I know it makes your skin crawl. Can you give him credit? He deserves. Give him credit.
I'll give him credit. I think the promo got better as it went along.
He got
after Jericho came out, it was way better.
Well, and I think it's interesting. Again, tonight I have to go back to this theme. We hear Dynamite Download, we see it. The changing of the landscape after pay-per-views and how smart they start to build steam. I loved Dan Lambert. I loved what he did tonight as the heel of this group. I loved his promo tonight. I thought it was the best one he's cut in AEW. I thought he had a command of the ring and of the audience.
Yeah.
He knew how to poke the fan base just the right ways. And then you have Scorpio Sky wearing those incredibly feminine glasses and just like going over the top with his look, and All Ego just being his natural hilarious self, making all the facial expressions and all the to boot. All the Jekylls behind Dan Lambert tonight really
everybody had their part. It was great.
It was great. It was an awesome segment. And quite honestly, for me, I thought it was also cool to see Jericho getting involved in a promo battle with a guy who I think can kind of go toe-to-toe with him a little bit. And Jericho, I thought, was hilarious tonight. There were a lot of really great promos. I thought Jericho was really funny.
Yeah.
And I like them building off of Jake Hager's MMA background. I like what they're doing there. I think this, and if this leads to Hager and Jericho going against the Men of the Year, who can complain about that? I mean,
I can't.
You're gonna have young. You can.
I can't.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say I'm ready to argue and debate.
No,
right
I would. I'm a huge fan of those guys, Men of the Year. So I want to see that match, man.
I think that those guys getting an opportunity against Jericho, will be a good rub for them. I think that, All Ego and Scorpio Sky both feel like guys who we all see the talent in, but given all the big names that are coming in and stuff, these are types of guys on the AEW roster who you worry that could get lost in the shuffle.
Yeah.
If they don't get engaged in a program or in a feud. And so getting them engaged with Dan Lambert, letting Lambert get them nuclear heat, like he's doing, and really giving these guys a platform against two of the top members of the Inner Circle, which Inner Circle has been the bread and butter of AEW. I think this makes a lot of sense, and it's going to allow for us to see more, I think, MMA mix-ins, which I think is a good thing. AEW is so smart with these crossovers, man. If it works with NWA and it works with Mission Pro Wrestling and it works with Impact
And they've
Wrestling,
already teased it.
and it works with New Japan, why would you not do it with MMA too? And I think that they see this is something when we were at All Out, when we got to rub elbows with some of the talents. Common theme is, if the tide rises, all the ships rise too. And so why not have the whole industry, all professional wrestling, all of sports rise, and let's build each other up. And I think that all through these guys tearing each other down in promos, they're going to build each other up. I mean, I think that this is going to work. I think Jericho and Hager, keeping Hager with the mouthpiece of Jericho is no different than having Scorpio with Dan Lambert. I think it works a lot.
It does. I liked the interaction between Lambert and Jericho. I did. I thought that Jericho, like you said, was absolutely on point tonight. Jericho is always on point, but man, like
really funny.
He pushed his boundaries tonight a little bit, which is great.
True.
I like that. I think that it was cool that to hear him drop some stuff that he doesn't drop. And I was like, and then people on the commentary, like I think Punk was like, ooh, or something when that happened. It was like, dang, like, he might be getting a letter from TNT tomorrow. But man, like it was like I said, once Jericho got out there, the segment really started picking up steam. The first half felt like another Dan Lambert.
Agreed.
I'm going to yell at clouds, and I don't like current wrestling because it's not the 90s anymore. Yeah. And it was like, I was like, oh my gosh, like, is this going to just be another one of these? But I'm glad that there's a direction now.
Look at that face. That's a face that you want to hate, though. I mean, look at that
face. It is. And Jericho even pointed it out. He
great.
Called him the buck teeth and said he's going to like knock him down his throat and all this stuff. And it was like I said, man, once Jericho got out there and started like hammering back at Lambert and kind of put him on his heels a little bit, it worked because there's a direction now. Part of why I was so stressed and frustrated about this is like, oh man, like they're part of it was because I'm such a big fan of Ethan Page on the mic. Yeah. And I was like, I don't like, why are they giving him a mouthpiece? I don't think it's necessary.
That's something that I said too. I mean, I saw some people saying that on Twitter about how, like, oh, it's good that Dan Lambert's paired with, Men of the Year, guys, so they can have a mouthpiece. And I'm thinking to myself, like, dude, like,
do you listen to Ethan Page talk?
I'm not going to let that kind of comment just go unchecked. Like,
no,
All Ego can cut some damn good promos. That guy's got personality for days.
His stuff with Darby was great. Just a couple weeks ago.
What are you talking about? Yeah.
Yeah. You don't need. They don't need a mouthpiece. And
maybe eventually. I mean, I agree with you on that point, though. All Ego does not need a mouthpiece. So I hear you.
Part of why it was so annoying. But now that there's a storyline, I can forgive that a little bit. And hopefully it goes in a way where eventually, they're kind of on their own again and doing their own thing. And maybe they'll have a different kind of reaction once they come back. If they go out there and do some MMA stuff, maybe some different in-ring stuff for Scorpio and Cage would be cool. I mean, I'm not all in yet on this. I'm not. I'll be honest. But I do think that there's a lot more potential in this feud now than there was earlier tonight. And I think this
is one of the only things that got a soft delete from you tonight.
And it wasn't a delete, really. The segment itself was fine. It was just one of those things where it was a delete until Jericho came out, and then it got direction.
I can respect that. But let's jump into the only other – let's get the negative out of the way. While you're talking Dan Lambert, I might as well rip off the Band-Aid. Yeah. And we'll get through the only other negative of the night for you, which happened to be – the main event of the show. Again. Is it because the main event just gets squeezed so much? Is that, I mean, I don't know how anyone out there can watch this main event and not be like, we just watched like half of this in a commercial. And it was to me, it was so obvious, just like last week, that this was pushed on time. And it's such a shame. I wish that like TNT would be like, what else are we showing? We're going to show like
Godzilla for the third time today. Like, it's fine.
Like,
no,
how many-
literally
how many
nobody's
more-
watching this. It's fine.
like
Like
I
we've
think we
shown
could-
the
I think
movie
we could
3
bump-
times already.
I think we could bump, like this Denzel Washington movie again. Like, I mean, like, I love it. I love Denzel, but I mean, I don't need to see The Equalizer right at 10 of
Every
5,
single Wednesday.
Like, come
Yeah.
on. Like, let's mix it up. Let's give AEW a little freedom. I think they've earned that right. I think that that this would have benefited so much if they would have had some spillover. Give these guys an extra 5 to 10 minutes. Let them actually tell a story. I was disappointed.
Or extend that ending bit we saw.
I had my mock shirt on tonight because, to me, there's nobody quite like Mox right now and the way that he's acting in AEW. I mean, this dude, he feels like he's a volcano ready to erupt. There's like this inner anger that's building inside of him where he feels overlooked.
He's about to explode.
He feels like he's being put on the back burner by all these hot new names. When, let's be honest, Moxley is the guy. I mean, I know that we think of a lot of names in AEW, but when you think AEW, Jon Moxley is the champion who led this company through the pandemic and really was a guy who created the paradigm shift. I mean, he was so outspoken about how he wanted a change from really the creative restrictions that he felt during his previous career. And he kind of made it cool to want to come to AEW. And so
he was literally the first guy to jump ship after it started.
I mean,
after it started, he was the first guy.
Big name. And his debut against Kenny was so memorable. I think that the Moxley Kingston pairing works. I know that you're not as much of a fan of it as I am. Mostly because I think you kind of get the formula, and I think the formula is a little of a bummer for somebody who likes Kingston as much as you do. So I get it. But I think that Moxley is just this ball of fire right now. And that's why when I was picking out shirts before the show, I was like, oh yeah, I'm picking my Mox shirt tonight. Oh yeah. And I should have known. I mean, they were put in the main event spot, which, hey, Moxley deserves it. But if SPD was here right now, he'd be checking me like, Team 2.0. These guys are good at what they do, and that is they know how to get under your skin and annoy you, and they clearly are doing that with Kingston and Moxley right now.
Yeah.
I think that, like, that said, SPD would be the first to tell me, as much as he wants a taste of what 2.0 has to offer, they're not in the same league as Jon Moxley, and that's no disrespect to them.
They would agree.
Moxley's legitimately one of the best on the planet.
World champion.
And so I think that there's an understandable gap, and to me, I get why this main event got squeezed on time. I think that this was a glorified squash match. It was just and that happens sometimes in wrestling, but it happens so infrequently in AEW that it feels weird.
Well, and plus having that being the main event of the show, like I know that basically this whole show felt like a main event because there were so many good matches and so many good segments, but when you kind of have that bad taste in your mouth leaving the show, like, oh, that was kind of lame. It was only like a 5-minute match and 3 minutes were in a commercial. And then, really the whole match didn't have no impact on what happened afterwards with Suzuki and Archer coming out, which was great. That stuff was great. I'm glad they played that storyline up.
Right.
That's awesome. That's the best thing that came out of this whole segment.
Right.
But I'm judging the match itself, and there was nothing that I don't remember Eddie Kingston doing anything until the last 2 seconds of the match. He
got his chops in, which is what
right. But it was just a squash, quick, and it's like for the main event, this is like a middle of the show kind of match where it can be 5 minutes and nobody will really care.
Transition match,
right.
Yeah,
it just didn't feel like this should have been the main event. Kind of like last week, where the main event also felt rushed. 2 weeks in a row where it felt like we had a rush main event. We didn't really get to see everything we wanted out of it.
Maybe that's the theme of Jon Moxley matches right now.
Yeah, right.
Maybe we just get used to it because Moxley is on a warpath, bro. I mean,
and I hate deleting these because all these guys are awesome. I love
Moxley's an ass-whooping machine, man. And let's talk about a match that was not a delete, and let's talk about a match that was not a squash. one that really hit on all levels. FTR versus Dante and Seidel.
Yeah.
You know, for me as a tag team nut, this match, bro, what a beautiful display of two totally different styles. I mean, this is what I love about FTR.
Yeah.
I said it during the match. Dante is the truth, man. Don't get me wrong. Dante is absolutely killing it right now, getting a lot of love from the people.
20 years old.
And he should be. What this kid can do is unbelievable. And being paired with Matt Seidel, another guy who makes the impossible look routine a lot of the time. But also I like this pairing because Seidel has that veteran's edge to him now. He's integrated a little bit more technicals, wrestling into his repertoire, a little bit more striking. I really like that pairing, and I think that works right now. But, man, if you're going to step into the ring with FTR, you got to be on your absolute A game, and there can be no chinks in the armor. And it was obvious, you know, Dante and Matt don't have the years of fine-tuning that FTR have, and that was really the difference tonight. You know, anytime the ref's back was turned, you saw FTR taking advantage and cheating. Anytime that there was an opportunity to get a 2-on-1, they were more than happy to take advantage of that. And, you know, again, I have to go back to the philosophy that really starts out is at the core of FTR. These guys are the mechanics. That's what, you know, they are. When you go back to their roots, they're guys who are old school, straightforward. They're gonna do what they do, and you can be the most athletic guy in the whole world, but if you're getting dropped on your head, your balance might be a little less, might be a little off when you go to climb the top rope. You know what I mean? Like, you know, when Dax does a brain buster on you, or Cash hits you with one of his uppercuts or forearms to the face, you're going to be a little bit more hesitant to do something top rope. And I think that these guys serve, this is what I love. These guys serve as such a great linchpin in any tag division that they go to, because they are such a solid base. You could throw a power team at them. You could throw a technical team at them. You could throw a speed team at them like we saw tonight, and it's going to work. And that's a testimony to what FTR is capable of.
Oh, yeah, man. And I think Cash looked great tonight. It's great to see him back healthy. He looked like that arm injury is not doing any damage anymore, which is great. Point. But they both just were on a different level again. This felt like a rejuvenating night for FTR. Both of their segments they were a part of were great. I think the match tonight, like they were in control. They controlled the pace, which in a Dante Martin match,
hard to do.
Dante kind of controls that pace sometimes when he's on offense, and they didn't let him have that at all. I mean, it was the chemistry really that kind of, like you pointed it out before, where they just were, every time the ref's back was turned, they were doing something. They were trying to get involved.
I loved it. I was eating it up.
Yeah.
It's
chemistry, man. Like those guys are as good, if not better than anybody else.
I was like Zeke, and well, maybe Zeke a couple years ago at this point, but I was eating it up, man. I was eating it up, man. FTR, they were leaning into that dirty, nasty side of them tonight. I mean, I think that maybe that feud with like Santana Ortiz really brought out the worst in them, because they were really like just nasty tonight through and through. Got some of the most heat out of anyone in the whole show tonight.
Especially that second segment with Sting, man, when they were wiping his face paint off and everything. Oh,
just fantastic.
Insane.
And again, let's give credit where credit's due. You know, I think that both these guys, Dante and Seidel, are used to being with their brothers in a different tag team. So, you know, the chemistry might not have been what it needed to beat FTR. But I think that these two guys could certainly hang with a lot of other teams out there in the division, and I would love to see Top Flight and the Seidel brothers kind of working with each other more. I mean, I love that. I love what these guys do as far as what they're capable of athletically.
I think their ring work would work well together. I think
Agreed.
that they would mesh well in even a trios match. If you had Dante with Mike and Matt, if Darius is still not healthy, you know what
Agreed.
I mean? I think that you could have some really cool matches. Just because, like, again, like you pointed out how Matt has really transitioned into doing more strikes and doing more grapples and more technical work, and Dante really doesn't have that in his arsenal yet. So I think you could have some really cool matches, just having the differences in styles plus the high flying stuff. Obviously, Evan, when he was Evan Bourne, Matt Sydal, like everybody was like, "Oh man, this is like one of the best high flyers in the world." And,
ever.
Yeah. And so you have a guy who, like you said, a veteran who's with a kid a young man who looks like he's going to be a superstar, at least in the ring and athletically looks like he checks every single box.
If you're a kid, how do you not just like, how is this Dante Martin not like your favorite wrestler? I mean, like, if you see him, if you see what this guy does on a weekly basis, you're going to mark out. I mean, he's just going to make you naturally want to see more of him. And that's a great take by you, Bonds. I think that like Sydal's veteran edge paired with the youngster, like with Dante there, makes a lot of sense. And it's a consistent trend that we see in AEW. Pair those veterans with the youngsters, let them learn, let them both benefit off that relationship. And really, I think that tonight's match, this tag match, to me, I know I was going into tonight's show thinking Adam Cole versus Kaz was going to be the in-ring killer match.
Yeah.
FTR versus Dante and Matt Sydal, really, it was up there, brother. This was
a show-stealing kind of match.
Speaking of that, though, bro, I mean, let's get into the match that I think most people had their, like, you know, when I was surveying the landscape, Jade versus Leyla Hirsch, this one was a match that a lot of people were excited about. And you talked at length in the tag match we just talked about, styles. Yeah. How important styles are to a matchup. Jade as this unstoppable wrecking machine. I mean, I don't want to, literally in my notes, I said, don't overcomplicate it.
Yeah.
I just literally just wrote, like, do not overcomplicate this. Jade is a superstar. We said it the minute we saw her. I still
she controls that room, man.
I can remember the episode where SPD and I saw her debut, and I was just like, this woman is an absolute star. She commands the room. Her presence feels so unique that you can't help but want to see what she can do. And then when she gets in the ring and she boots Leyla Hirsch in the face like she did, and hits her with a jaded like she did, you just are like, all right, there's substance here. Jade is being presented in a way that very few in AEW can say, other than maybe Colton Gunn, just pure dominance, just absolutely dominant. I was really impressed with this matchup. I was so excited to see it. And again, Leyla her size actually works in these types of matches because she has that pit bull that it's the size of the fight in the dog, not the size of the dog in the fight type of mentality where she's just gonna go at you. She's gonna with everything she has, she's coming at you.
And it works because she's so technically gifted.
Exactly. So you can believe when you see this, when you're thinking, oh man, like, come on, Jade's gonna squash her. But then you see, like, all right, well, the advantage that Leyla has here is her technique, is her prowess, is her ability to maybe outsmart or get into positions that might throw Jade off her game. And there were moments when you got to see that. But again, just like you said with FTR, this felt like Jade commanded this matchup. At no point in time did I ever doubt that Jade was going to put Leyla away. And that's no discredit to legit Leyla, who I think everybody is happy has joined the All Elite family.
She's done a great job since she's been brought in too.
Jade's just on a different trajectory, and when I say that again, I've gotten some heat for it, but I think that you have to continue to build Jade as this unstoppable force who is destined to dethrone the champ, whoever that may be. And I'm telling you, man, her versus Thunder Rosa is a program that would sell a lot of tickets, bro. I think that having that just like we saw tonight, Leyla has that tenacity, that underdog, that fighter mentality. You take that to another level with Thunder Rosa. Yep. Thunder is Leyla with years more of experience, and I think even more intensity and fan support, and that's what I think would work so well. You have this raw, uncut gem in Jade versus this battle-tested, just a grinder, a fighter, a woman who has literally fought for everything in her life with Thunder Rosa. Those they just meet in the middle, and I think that would lead to something beautiful. What do you think about this one? Because this was another example where the women's division, again, this has been a theme, and I love it that SPD's been the leader of this. Yeah. Because typically he's the one who's hardest on women's wrestling in our crew. But SPD's been talking about the AEW's women's division needs to build up more legitimate top tier talents in the women's division, not just names that you see that get airtime, but legitimate, recognizable superstars beyond Britt Baker. And I think that we have one without a doubt with Jade Cargill.
I completely agree. And I think this match did a couple things. I think this match showed that Leyla can kind of hang with anybody, which is great. You have her hanging with Jade, who's next to her looks like a robot, like just a machine.
The Terminator.
Like the Terminator, yeah. She looks like the Terminator next to Leyla, and she held her own, and it was a good match. This is one of the better matches of the night. This technically, I think, was just great. It's a shame that we saw it through commercial for a lot of it, but again, we're used to that with the women's matches immediately going to commercial. So I'm not going to hold it against them because they did a great job. And Jade with Thunder just sounds like a match made in heaven because she looks tonight. This is a test, in my opinion. This is another thing that it did. Tested out how will Jade look against somebody that's really technically sound that you're going to have like these matches with that's going to, potentially dominate her from a technical perspective because she's not very, she's green. And I'm not, she's obviously looks really good in the ring. She does a good job.
But she's start somewhere.
Right. She's only been in the business she's not even been in the business for a year. So you've got somebody who's oodles of talent.
Yep.
That she's like a creative wrestler. Jade is like a creative wrestler. You can't create anybody that looks more intimidating or
we've said the same thing about Brian Cage. We've said the same thing about him. He just if you're creating a wrestler on a video game, you're like, okay, I want him to be the biggest, strongest, most ripped badass who can also jump off the top rope. I mean, Jade has Brian Cage vibes where you're just like, all right, like this woman clearly is an athletic freak on a level that few human beings can achieve. I mean, I'm just being honest. Yeah. I mean,
that's why she's so rare. That's why she looks so impressive because she doesn't look like she's green either, which is what I took out of this match the most.
Good point, Brian.
She looks ready to go.
Good point.
She doesn't look like she needs another 6 months. She looks like she's ready for some TV matches. She looks like she's ready for some stuff. Maybe not. I'm not talking about putting her in the main event. I don't think that that's smart to do yet. But if she continues at the trajectory she's at and she's having these good matches, why not? Because, she looks great for what she's doing. Have her do some more promo work, get her a little bit more stuff in the background where she's not just saying the same thing every week. Get her going, man. She looks ready to go. And tonight was a perfect example of that. She's super ready.
Yeah, and that's why I'm leading the charge, trying to push for some traction because I think that Jade needs to be pushed. She needs to be. I think right now DMD versus Ruby, that's going to lead to some. That's already happening, and I think that's what keeps the DMD distracted. But I think after that, Britt has beaten Statlander. She's already beaten Ruby, right? And so after she defends against Ruby, you need to have somebody else emerge as a contender. And I'm with you. I think that Jade absolutely has what it takes to be in that conversation. And I would use her as the linchpin with Thunder Rosa, and that would be the next number one contender. I would book Thunder Rosa to win that. I would have Thunder's veteran savvy maybe get the best of Jade and kind of sneak out a W.
First loss, yeah.
But I would allow Jade, and losing to Thunder Rosa is not, that's like an honor, right? So
it's a great first loss, yeah.
I think that Jade needs to get that kind of push and that kind of exposure. If I'm in AEW management, I'm full throttle to Jade's push. She's one of the top 3 or 4 people in the division that I would be pushing week after week after week. I mean, really, it would be Britt, Thunder, and Jade. I mean, when I look at the division, those are 3 women that I think that have star power on another level and could take this division and this brand on a whole nother level. But speaking of that, Bonds, let's get into it. Who was this one clearly had vibes of superstar of the night, right? In the sense that Jade really cements herself again as somebody who dominated in this one, looked like an absolute star. Is she your top performer of the night?
No, unfortunately.
Who is?
The man of the hour, CM Punk, because of his commentary. It was awesome. He adds such a different element to the commentary booth. And for anybody that doesn't know, I loved CM Punk on commentary back when he was with WWE. Like I'm used to his style. And it was so nice to hear it again. It was refreshing. I like that he wasn't like Tony Schiavone, where Tony just calls everybody a dirtbag when they're the bad guy. It was nice. Punk did that thing where he's going back and forth, talking about the people that he was, scouting. He was scouting like, hey, I'm scouting Adam Cole. I want to wrestle Adam Cole. And he was talking about that. It was really interesting because he was sowing some seeds on a lot of things too. Yep. Storylines down the road. He was doing a couple little heel things too. So He was making some hints. And it was a way to do that without having a segment dedicated to him. Instead of having a whole segment dedicated, you had half a show where he was kind of doing anecdotes here and there. Great point. It made it really interesting. And again, talking all the time during during commentary is very difficult to do. So for a guy to go in there, especially after not doing wrestling commentary for that long, I mean, I know he's been doing MMA commentary, but not doing that for a long time and kind of hitting the ground running and not really feels like he's just on point, is super educated about the product, knows what's going on in AEW. Like, this guy was paying attention. Like, he knows what's going on. He knows who he wants to face. And then the last bit he had with Team Taz, obviously Team Taz kind of stole the show at the end with that, but it was still his segment as well. So I got to give it to CM Punk, man. What about you? I
mean, great pick, kind of outside the box, but I really
most commentators don't get it, right?
I can respect that. I mean, CM Punk really felt like a natural in the booth, and I think that his calm and steady vibe really worked off of JR and Excalibur, and I really thought that this was a great episode in a lot of ways because of him. So
yeah, he added a lot to the show.
And when you didn't even talk about the Team Taz and Hook and Hobbs interactions. I mean, when Taz came after him and said, "Now you're trying to take my job, you schmuck, you're trying to take my job." I love that.
So good.
And I think I'm not alone. I think that the Hook and Punk interactions are always kind of interesting. Seeing this little Punk kid antagonizing CM Punk.
Yeah,
it's
right.
Great. So I can respect that pick. My pick, I don't know how. I mean, anybody out there,
FTR.
Anybody out there who's a loyal listener knows I'm picking FTR. I mean, this was one of those moments where when I saw them do what they did to Sting tonight, and I saw the reaction that Dax and Cash got, the deafening asshole chants. Again, you do not see that in modern day wrestling very often. And
No.
It was just another reminder that these old school
Throwbacks.
tag team throwbacks, they get it. They know how to play. They play the crowd like a violin, man.
Yep.
Dax and Cash were on point tonight. For guys that have, in some ways, even though they were engaged in the hottest, the hottest feud of the summer, it felt like in some ways at times FTR has been disrespected or kind of been on the back burner. I know that they've certainly been playing into that on Twitter.
As they should.
But
good stuff.
Tonight, you talked about the commentator team. My God, they couldn't put over FTR enough. Punk continued to talk about them and refer to them as the best tag team on the planet. And tonight was a beautiful thing to see them come out on top and look like a bunch of dirtbags doing it. As an FTR fan, I loved every minute of it. I thought that they absolutely killed it tonight. So that's our top performer of the night. Bonds, you're going to talk about in your column tomorrow, segment of the night and match of the night. Why don't you give us a little preview of what's to come, and we'll wrap this baby up.
Well, so if you guys read my column last week, there's a little bit of format change. Instead of having every segment to talk about, we're doing a segment of the night and a match of the night. So that's going to be fun. It's pretty cool. I like writing it a little bit shorter, so it's not as kind of dragged down by a lot of segments. It's going to be most of the
results
matches
here anyway.
Yeah, right, exactly. So we're getting more stuff, more time for me to do stuff, which is cool. But also, if we're going to get a little tease into the match of the night, we talked about it.
A little taste.
Gushed about it. And I think you in particular are going to really like the match of the night for me, because it's, one of your favorite performers. Yeah, performers.
I'm excited to check it out tomorrow now. I can't wait to hear it and hear what you have to say.
Awesome.
And segment of the night, give us a I don't even need to ask you. God, I know it.
You got your Burberry scarf ready?
My number one draft pick, MJF.
Top guy, number one guy. And Pillman's doing a good job too, man. Pillman's holding his own.
Well, on that note, here's to the salt of the earth. MJF, be prepared to get plenty of praise from Bonds tomorrow. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on week 51 of Dynamite Download. Next week marks our year-long anniversary. I cannot believe it. Holy smokes. For those of you who have joined us recently, thank you so much for coming along on this journey with us. The best is yet to come, as I like to say. Check us out on Spotify, on Apple, iTunes. We are available. Check us out on social media.
SPE does a great job on Instagram. Check out our Instagram.
Instagram is awesome. Sweet. QT Marshall gave us a ringing endorsement, said we need more followers, so do your part. Help us out and make those interviews come a little easier to us. Get those likes and subscribes up, y'all. I'm not too proud to bed, baby.
QT gave us a ringing endorsement. Listen to QT. The guy knows what he's talking about. He's the leader of the factory for a reason. He knows what he's talking about.
Head of creative. Let's be real. Come on, let's go. All right. Exactly. Hey, thanks, everybody. Week 51. This is a wrap, Jack. Top guys out, baby.
Bye.